Ladies and gents, I am the one and only DJ Storms. Welcome back to the channel here on YouTube.com. It is Saturday, July 18th, 2020, as we sit just 24 hours away from the horror show at Extreme Rules 2020. And no, I'm not going to make the cliche horror show joke like every other person in the community is making, but I would like to welcome each and every single one of you to the Lightning Flash update for this week. Very, very busy week for me. Very busy week for your boy. Probably the busiest week in my entire life, at least from what I can remember. I worked 4 days this week. I worked Sunday, I worked Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I unhusked about 800 ears of corn. I am sick of seeing corn. I do not want to see any more corn for the entire weekend. So they got enough corn to last them through the weekend, since the weekend is one of the busiest periods of the summer, specifically for supermarkets. I also had 4 college assignments for my online class that I had to get done this week, including a group project, a group PowerPoint presentation project, which me and my group, we got done on time. We submitted it on time. Do not worry. I'm keeping that 3.7 GPA up. Trust me. And also, today wraps up a 4-day upload schedule. A lot of 4s in the life of Storms. 4 days of work, 4 assignments, 4 videos, a lot of 4s. But this wraps up a 4-day upload schedule. I will not be uploading tomorrow. I'm going to be taking a break tomorrow, and I'm going to be relaxing before the horror show at Extreme Rules. I will be doing a rewind that will be up either on Monday or Tuesday. Monday actually, that is the final exam. That's the final exam for my online class, and of course my sister is also graduating, since their graduation got postponed because of what's going on with the whole pandemic right now. Little side note before we get into the festivities here. I did have a little break in between the video premiere from yesterday and SmackDown last night. I actually got my IV infusions. I have lost track how many times I've been fucking impaled by a needle to keep this fucking intestinal disease intact. It's like every other week I have to go either to the gastrologist or the fucking infusion center or a lab, and I gotta get fucking impaled by a needle. I hate needles. People are always asking me, like my friends and family are always asking me, you hate needles, but yet you want tattoos, which I do. How the fuck are you going to do that? I'm like, I'll figure it out. But I got impaled yesterday. I got my IV infusions in this arm, and then I had a video premiere, and then I had some time in between. I had some time to watch Dr. Sleep, the sequel to The Shining. Phenomenal movie. Spectacular stuff. It is a must-see film if you're into that type of material. If you're into horror movies, if you're into Stephen King, it's a great feature presentation. Go and check it out. I loved it. So go check out Dr. Sleep if you haven't already done so. But anyway, enough of the non-wrestling related stuff. Before we get into the festivities here on the Lightning Flash update, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of news and rumors going into the horror show and SummerSlam. I got a lot of news on SummerSlam matches being scrapped or postponed. So we got a lot to talk about there. We're going to start off with the news, rumors, and reports first. And then we got 5 weekly shows to talk about. But before we get started, please follow me on the Twitter. The Twitter sticks. Please follow me on Twitters at HistoryMakerDJS. You will find out why I am the operator of the best damn Twitter handle known to mankind. You want to be following me on Twitter? I am a fucking savage on Twitter. Please, go follow me there. Of course, follow me on Instagram and Periscope at DDJ Storms. Add me on Facebook as well for collaborations and business inquiries. Please send me an email. My email, of course, is StormsTakeOver@gmail.com. Like the official DJ Storms business page, and I may just send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms Posse group on Facebook. That is. All the links are in the description. If you guys missed the rundown for the horror show at Extreme Rules 2020 with ECW Chris 2408. I was his first collaboration. So Chris, if you're watching, I am very pleased to have been your first collaboration. If you missed the rundown for Extreme Rules 2020 with ECW Chris 2408, if you missed the 3 years of DJ Storm's anniversary Q&A, and if you missed the rewind for AEW Fight for the Fallen, those were the 3 other videos. taking place throughout the course of this 4-day upload schedule for me. If you missed those 3 videos are in the description. Please go check them out before you watch the rest of this video. Of course, if you haven't already done so, please hit the thumbs up. I got goals. I need you guys to help me reach those goals. So I need you guys to hit the thumbs up if you haven't already done so. Please, help me out. And of course, when you hit the thumbs up, you gotta comment down below. What are your thoughts on the news, rumors, and reports, and what are your thoughts on the weekly show reviews this week? Of course, when you comment down below, then you gotta hit that subscribe button. Excuse me. I got goals to reach. I want to grow. I want to expand. I need you guys to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And then, of course, when you hit the subscribe button, you got to hit the notifications bell with a huge coup de grace. That way you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, it is the best time to be on YouTube. I actually got to shave today, so over here is nice and smooth. But right here is this glorious sideburn chin strap combination and this beautiful mustache. I know you want some. Everybody wants a piece of the StormsMeister. I know you do. You can't get enough of me. You fuckers can't get enough of me. But anyway, 6 minutes in. I already need to take a drink. Refresh. Anyway, enough of the advertisements and the self-brand promotion. Let's get straight into the festivities here. We're going to start off with the news, rumors, and reports like we have been doing for the last couple weeks here on the Lightning Flash update. And I got a report from Cage Side Seats. They reportedly said that Rey Mysterio's original eye infection / injury was originally slated to write him off of television and out of the company until it came out from multiple sources that WWE was negotiating a new deal with him. So based off of this, and based off the fact that he's working without a contract, it really does seem as though Rey Mysterio is leaving. Now, here's the main question. Is he retiring, or is he going to All Elite Wrestling? Based on everything that's been going on, it really does seem as though probably Rey Mysterio is just going to look to retire. I really don't see him going to All Elite Wrestling. It would be cool if he does. It's a possibility that he could. But here's the thing that concerns me about him going to All Elite Wrestling. Now, if he stays with WWE, which I don't think he will, if he stays with WWE, then, he's really not going to amount to anything. He's just going to be in the same position that he was in before he re-signed a new contract. If he goes to All Elite Wrestling, yeah, he'll have some great matches, but I feel as though he'll just be in a Chris Jericho position or a Matt Hardy position. He's really not going to win any championships. He's probably just going to have some fun for a year or two and then call it a career. If he retires, he retires. But if he goes to All Elite Wrestling, this is what concerns me. If he goes to All Elite Wrestling, what's going to happen to his son? Because Dominic is currently training in the Performance Center. He's following in his father's footsteps to become a professional wrestler. And from what I've seen, he's actually very, very good. If he keeps on going, and within a year or two, he could be in NXT. He could be competing in NXT. He could be competing with the likes of Keith Lee or Adam Cole if they're still there. Probably not, but Damien Priest or Cameron Grimes, they'll probably bring in some more talent from NXT. Hopefully this pandemic passes over and we can get back to the NXT that we all know and love. I hope Vince McMahon does not have any more influence on NXT after this pandemic is over, although I doubt it because, Vince McMahon, he just can't help that AEW is once again beating NXT in the ratings. But the thing that concerns me is if Rey goes to All Elite Wrestling, after Dominic leaves NXT, what's going to happen to him? Even if Rey is not still wrestling for All Elite Wrestling by the time Dominic gets called up to the main roster after NXT, if he even goes through NXT, what's going to happen to his son? Because you need to remember, the WWE is known for pettiness. I've said it once and I'll say it again. WWE is the most petty company on the face of the planet. This is the same company that broke Demolition's record with the New Day because Demolition was going through a lawsuit with WWE at the time. This is the same company that broke AJ Lee's record as the Divas Champion because AJ Lee is married to CM Punk. This is the same company that's currently embarrassing Jeff Hardy right now because his brother Matt went to All Elite Wrestling. Nothing is stopping WWE from treating Dominic like shit. Embarrassing him, burying him. There's nothing stopping the company from doing that because they can't put personal feelings aside for the greater good of business, and they would be petty towards Dominic if Rey Mysterio was to go to All Elite Wrestling. That's what I'm concerned about. It's not so much Rey Mysterio. More likely than not, Rey Mysterio is going to lose both eyes at Extreme Rules tomorrow, and that's going to be it. He's probably going to leave. Because there's been no reports, there's been no rumors, no news, no reports, nothing from any of the sources, whether you're Sean Ross Sapp, fuck you, Sean, Brad Shepard, Dave Meltzer, Brian Alvarez, whoever you may be, no one has come out and said that Rey Mysterio has finished the negotiation with WWE. No one has come out and said that Rey Mysterio signed a new contract. So, at this rate, there's nothing left to believe other than the fact that Rey Mysterio could be leaving. Does he go to All Elite Wrestling? It's a possibility. Do I see him going to All Elite Wrestling? No. Mainly because of the fact that I have a feeling that he knows what kind of company WWE is, and he does not want WWE to take out their frustrations on him, on his son. But that concerns me about Rey Mysterio going to All Elite Wrestling. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Probably going to need to get another water. Moving on to another report from Ringside News, and they actually reported that WWE had an innovative match planned for Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose at SummerSlam. It was being reported that they were set to have a hair versus hair match, but it has since been scrapped from the plans, and I am glad that it's been scrapped from the plans, because a hair versus hair match, we don't need that type of fucking matchup in the modern day wrestling era. That matchup, outdated. It's outdated. It's not needed. I do not need to see Sonya Deville bald. I do not need to see Mandy Rose bald. I would have much rather have taken a no disqualification match or a regular Extreme Rules match between the two at the horror show at Extreme Rules, but that didn't happen, mainly because of the fact that they were 2 of the 30-plus people that actually tested positive for COVID. And just because they didn't come out and say it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. I mean, come on. They've been off of television with the Street Profits. They've been off of television with Daniel Bryan. Now, Daniel Bryan, he could probably just be staying home. It's a possibility. I don't know. But the Street Profits, Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, Otis and Tucker, they've been out. They could have tested positive. You never know. But I'm actually glad that this match is not happening, hair versus hair. I would have much rather have taken a regular match. And to be quite honest, I still don't know why this feud is continuing, because Mandy Rose doesn't really have a case of why this feud should be continuing, because Sonya already beat Mandy twice. Sonya beat Mandy twice. So why is this feud continuing? Realistically, it feels as though this feud is continuing, and the promo work has been very good between the two, but it honestly feels like the feud is just continuing because WWE is legitimately lazy and they have nothing else for the two, so they're dragging this feud out till SummerSlam. Now, I do not mind the match between the two at SummerSlam. I'm actually all for that match at SummerSlam. I think that would be a very nice showcase for both women, but I do not want to see hair versus hair. I don't think anyone should want to see hair versus hair. This hair versus hair bullshit, keep that away from the major companies. Keep that away from New Japan. Keep that away from All Elite Wrestling. Keep that away from WWE. It is not what fits the mold of modern day professional wrestling. It does not have that sports-like feel. It has that Attitude Era vibe that honestly is outdated. So keep that away. Keep that away in the vault, or keep that on the independent circuit. No hair versus hair. Speaking of SummerSlam, 2 major matches have been scrapped from the SummerSlam card. WrestleVotes tweeted out, and I quote, "Was told that this weekend, the projected SummerSlam card that Creative had in place a few months ago has been torn up. Edge's injury played a big part, as well as the lack of audience. No fans means WWE has little desire to have Brock Lesnar on the pay-per-view. 2 major matches scrapped," end quote. Of course, they're talking about Brock Lesnar versus McIntyre Part 2 and Edge versus Orton Part 3. And it seems as though WWE is going to go with Orton and McIntyre, which should have been the plan from the get-go. An injury to Edge and the fact that there's no fans in the crowd, those should not be the deciding factors for WWE to actually do the right thing. The right thing was Orton and McIntyre from the get-go. That's what they should have done. That would have made sense. The best possible route to go. Now, there's been reports going around, and a couple people around the community have been calling Randy Orton to actually beat Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship and possibly drop it to Edge when Edge eventually comes back. Now, I don't necessarily mind that. Mainly because of the fact that it tells a great story. I don't mind a great story being told there. Randy Orton's been doing some of the best heel work of his modern day career right now. And Edge coming back and winning the WWE Championship, that would be a great feel-good moment, a great story to be told for Adam Copeland. And realistically speaking, dropping the WWE Championship to Randy Orton in a great match in the main event of SummerSlam, that's not necessarily going to hurt Drew McIntyre. Because Drew McIntyre has been doing excellent in this role as the WWE Champion, but I can't help but say that this feud with Edge and Orton and Randy Orton himself, it doesn't need that enhancement of the WWE Championship. The WWE Championship, it seems as though it's just going to feel out of place. The story's already there. The story's already there with Randy Orton and Edge. What Drew McIntyre is doing right now reminds me of what happened with Rhea Ripley before they paired her up against Charlotte Flair and they had Charlotte Flair kill all of Rhea Ripley's momentum. Rhea Ripley, she won the first ever Women's War Games. She won the Survivor Series match for her team. She defeated Shayna Baszler, ended her 415-day reign as NXT Women's Champion to win the title, successful title defense against Toni Storm, successful title defense against Bianca Belair. And then she was paired with Charlotte Flair, and Charlotte Flair killed all that momentum and killed all that credibility. What should have happened is we should have had Rhea Ripley beating Charlotte Flair, and then she could have dropped the title to Io Shirai. Now, Io Shirai is already the champion now, but we got an unnecessary 9-week reign as NXT Women's Champion by Charlotte Flair. Io Shirai is doing great now. She had a great match with Tegan Nox for the NXT Women's Championship, but I'm saying that she would have been much better off, and she would have looked that much more better if she beat Rhea Ripley, and that momentum and legitimacy and credibility that Rhea Ripley had would have transferred over to Io Shirai, and they could have built up a new star and made Io look just as legitimate as Rhea. Instead, Io pinned Rhea in that triple threat match after Rhea's momentum had already been diminished. And Charlotte Flair wasn't even the one pinned. Drew McIntyre is in Rhea Ripley's position right now. Drew McIntyre has been winning, he's been building his resume and gaining momentum. Drew McIntyre has legitimacy. Drew McIntyre has credibility. WWE, and this is what I hate about the WWE right now, is that they don't use that legitimacy and credibility to build up new stars. And that is why the ratings are in the shitter right now. If you have Randy Orton beat Drew McIntyre, well, it may be a great story to tell with Edge. That momentum, that legitimacy and credibility is just going to go up in smoke. Just like it went up in smoke at WrestleMania for Rhea Ripley. Randy Orton doesn't need that legitimacy and credibility because he's already established. If WWE wants to, what should happen is Drew McIntyre should beat Randy Orton and continue his reign into the fall. You have Kevin Owens to go up against Drew McIntyre. You got Edge when he comes back. You can have a dream match with Drew McIntyre right there for the WWE Championship. You can have Rey Mysterio in there if he's still with the company. Hell, when Apollo Crews drops the United States Championship to somebody not named Bobby Lashley or MVP, you could put Apollo Crews in there. I would love to see what Apollo Crews could do in a WWE Championship match against Drew McIntyre. I think that would be an excellent match. You let those guys go for 20 minutes, those guys will give you a great damn match. And then you can build up Aleister Black. Aleister Black wins the Royal Rumble, goes into WrestleMania 37, and defeats Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. And after Drew McIntyre has built up all that momentum and all that credibility, that will transfer over to Aleister Black. And I feel like I say this all the time when I talk about Aleister Black. The guy's beaten everybody. Everybody. He's beaten Seth Rollins, he's beaten AJ Styles, he's beaten Shelton Benjamin, Akira Tozawa, he's beaten Eric Rowan, he's beaten Apollo Crews, he's beaten Sami Zayn, he's beaten Buddy Murphy, he's beaten Cesaro, he's beaten Austin Theory. The guy has beaten everyone, and he's received no title opportunities. When is the guy going to get his due? When is the guy finally going to get what he deserved? This is what pisses me off. How many times can this guy win and win and win and win and win and get nothing? Aleister Black needs to be the one to take the title off of Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania 37. Black needs to win the Royal Rumble. Black needs to beat Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. You need to use the legitimacy and credibility that McIntyre has to build up a new star. Randy Orton, while it may be a great story, he doesn't need the title, and the story with Edge doesn't need the title. I'm going with Drew McIntyre to retain. I feel as though Drew McIntyre should retain. There's no better way to do it than to build up Aleister Black as a new star right there. Have him win the WWE title. Moving on to a report from journalist Tom Colohue. WWE has not been able to convince Jeff Hardy to sign a new contract. This doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Tom Colohue stated, and I quote, "The worst part of this whole storyline is that Jeff Hardy is really unlikely to pick up any wins, any actual wins. He's been buried on the way out of the door because they cannot convince him to sign a new contract. He just doesn't seem interested. If they can convince him, they would probably start writing storylines that actually work in his favor. But really, right now, this doesn't suit anyone." End quote. Doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Matter of fact, after Backlash, it was clear as day that they were just burying him because he didn't want to deal with this shit anymore. They were just shoving it in his face every single week. It's the same shit over and over and over and over again. It's repetitive garbage. It's repetitive bullshit. How many times can you say the same thing over and over and over again before everyone's going to get tired of it? It's honestly becoming disgusting. It's appalling. Jeff Hardy, at this rate, I would not be surprised if next week on SmackDown, Jeff Hardy loses that bar fight. And Jeff Hardy's taken off the television. After this feud with Sheamus, I do not expect Jeff Hardy to come out victorious whatsoever. I really don't. And I actually talked about this. We talked about this on the Extreme Rules preview and prediction show with Joseph Conlon. Shout out to him. If you guys are not subscribed to Big Fight Feel, go and subscribe to Big Fight Feel. They're on the road to 200 subscribers. I appeared on the Extreme Rules preview and prediction show with Joseph Conlon on Big Fight Feel channel on Thursday. Please go check that out. We talked about this match. If it were to take place at Extreme Rules, it's not taking place at Extreme Rules. It's taking place on SmackDown next week, and we both predicted Sheamus. Not going to be surprised if Sheamus walks out the winner here. Moving on. Multiple sources, including Ringside News and Dave Meltzer, recently reported that the Street Profits versus Angel Garza and Andrade was originally slated for Extreme Rules, but has since been postponed to SummerSlam. And to be quite honest with you, I had a feeling that it was originally slated for Extreme Rules because of the simple fact that the WWE, they were building Angel Garza and Andrade to take the titles off of the Street Profits immediately after that match with the Viking Raiders took place on Monday Night Raw. And it seemed as though Extreme Rules was the set date that Angel Garza and Andrade were going to win the Raw Tag Team titles. But Street Profits, of course, tested positive for COVID. So it seems as though they're going to be waiting till after Extreme Rules to bring the Street Profits back, and then they're going to start building towards Angel Garza and Andrade to take the titles off of the Street Profits. To be quite honest, whether it was because of COVID or not, I actually have no problem with it, considering that SummerSlam is the second biggest pay-per-view of the year, and Angel Garza and Andrade winning the tag team titles from the Street Profits at SummerSlam, I feel as though that would probably be the best possible route for them to get a win at SummerSlam. So we'll see what happens there. And my final report before we get into the weekly show reviews comes from Ringside News. And I quote, "Ringside News has learned that Mustafa Ali was moved over to Raw at his request." Yes, you heard me correctly. At his request. "We were told by a current WWE writer close to the situation that Ali wanted to be switched because he was tired of being ignored by Bruce Pritchard and Ed Kowski. Mustafa Ali went to Vince and asked to be switched over to Raw because at the time, under Paul Heyman, Raw was building to the future with new stars. According to our source, Vince McMahon then rejected every idea for Ali's hacker storyline that Heyman and the Raw creative team pitched to him. It was described to us as Mustafa Ali, who is well liked by the roster, being stuck in limbo. Vince McMahon's new philosophy of not wanting to build new stars and only pushing those who are already established did not play to Mustafa Ali's favor either." End quote. So this is the latest news on the Mustafa Ali incident, where the hacker disappeared, and then Mustafa got moved over to Raw, and now he's back on SmackDown, which I reported last week. I have been monitoring this situation closely. And to be quite honest with you, I am not surprised by this whatsoever. Mustafa Ali, the fact that you have one of your coworkers ask to be moved over to brands under the watchful eyes of Paul Heyman because he wanted to build the future with new stars. And then what did you do? You fired Paul Heyman. You fired Paul Heyman because you labeled Paul Heyman the scapegoat for the ratings dropping. Yet, all it took Bruce Pritchard was 4 to 5 weeks, and he already has two ratings lower than Paul Heyman ever did. Matter of fact, under Bruce Pritchard, they got the lowest ratings in the history of the show. And I can't wait to take a look at the SmackDown ratings after I'm done recording this video. You have one of your coworkers ask to switch brands because he was tired of being ignored. So all you fucking idiots out there saying, oh, Mustafa's injured or Mustafa has COVID. No, he's being ignored. He was being ignored since December. He has not been seen on television since December. And they had this fucking hacker storyline. And then the hacker seemed to disappear after Money in the Bank. Why? Because Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard literally rejected every idea that Mustafa Ali pitched. And then he got moved over to Raw. And still, Paul Heyman and the creative team tried to reason with Vince, and they couldn't do it. And then he got moved back over to SmackDown. Now, he's probably better off on SmackDown because, again, they need people in the upper mid-card to main event scene, which I have no problem with, but at the same point in time, you're not even going to utilize him. You're not even going to utilize him because you refuse to take advice from anyone. You refuse to actually listen to the people that you're working with. What are you going to do when Bruce Pritchard continues to set record lows? Are you going to blame him? Are you going to fire him? Are you going to run the shows yourself? And what happens when you run the shows yourself, Vince? And what happens when the ratings do not get above the 2 million? Who are you going to blame then? When you fired everyone else and you've alienated everyone else? Are you going to go back to Bischoff? Are you going to go back to Heyman and Pritchard and apologize? This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Mustafa Ali trying to pitch ideas. Paul Heyman and the Raw creative team trying to pitch ideas. And now, Vince McMahon's new philosophy of not wanting to build new stars and pushing those already established. Now, we don't know if Mustafa Ali is ever going to show face throughout 2020. I don't think Mustafa Ali has had one appearance. On any programs for WWE all year. I don't think he's had one appearance on WWE television across any 3 shows all year. Not even on Main Event, not even on NXT, not on SmackDown, not on Raw, not on pay-per-view, not on 205 Live. He has not had one single solitary appearance. Not one. Now we don't know if he's ever going to show face. We really don't know if he's ever going to show face. I feel so bad for Mustafa Ali, I swear. That's the news, rumors, and reports. We're going to get into the weekly shows. So, Monday Night Raw this week. I don't want to say it was atrocious, because it wasn't atrocious. It wasn't as bad as last week. Still got the lowest ratings in the history of the show, but it wasn't atrocious. It wasn't good either. I would say it was halfway bearable. We did get some very good wrestling on the show. We got a couple of great matches on the show, actually. We did get Bianca Belair and Shayna Baszler resurfacing from the center of the earth. So there's something. So MVP kicked off the show with the VIP lounge. He introduced Dolph Ziggler. Ziggler says, without him, Drew is another unemployed loser begging for a handout. Really. MVP thanked Dolph before Drew came out. Drew says that Dolph used him. He was his muscle. Drew says that he's going to maim Dolph, torture Dolph, and regret the day Dolph called him to be his lackey. And then he got in the face of Dolph, cheap jab, and then he just left. And that was it. Standard, boring, nothing special. Nothing that we've already seen. Nothing that we haven't seen between Dolph and Drew. It seems as though with this segment, it seems as though they legitimately just wanted to get this segment over with and just get to Extreme Rules. Because, again, nothing was said here that hasn't already been said leading up to Extreme Rules in the last 4 weeks. Standard, nothing overwhelming, boring. No more I can say about that. We actually went into a tag team elimination match with the Viking Raiders and Angel Garza and Andrade. This was actually a decent match for what it was. It went about 11 minutes. And I actually thought that they did a very good job with this match. Decent. Nothing special, but they did a very good job. All 4 men did a very good job. We had Eric getting eliminated first with a super kick from Garza. Tag by Garza to Andrade. Big double knees and a hammerlock DDT. Nice sequence there. Eric is eliminated. Going into commercial, Ivar is being worked on by Angel Garza and Andrade. Ivar with a double suicide dive, taking out both men. Springboard, back elbow to Andrade. Garza took over control. Andrade got the blind tag, but then he got dropped by a spinning heel kick from Ivar. He actually saved Angel Garza. So Andrade taking the bullet for his teammate, and Andrade got eliminated. Garza with a springboard drop kick. Spin kick to Garza, but Andrade put Garza's foot on the rope. Andrade looking out for his partner there. Garza caught Ivar with a powerbomb as Ivar tried for the alley-oop on Garza. Garza caught him in a powerbomb, stacked him up, jackknife cover style, and he got the win. Garza and Andrade win clean, and I can appreciate them winning clean. Garza did not put his foot on the rope. They didn't use Zelina Vega. They did not use a handful of trunks. Garza with a jackknife cover off of the powerbomb, and Garza and Andrade win clean. That I can appreciate. I have no problem with that. I got no complaints about this match. Garza and Andrade now have momentum. Now they go into SummerSlam and they beat the Street Profits. Ruby Riott was backstage. The Iconics. The I need to get my ears surgically removed Conics. So, Ruby Riott then introduced Bianca Belair. Yes, this is not a drill. This is not a drill. After 3 months, they have found Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair is alive. Bianca Belair came in off the hot tag in this tag team match. Beautiful dropkick, beautiful handspring moonsault, KOD to Billie Kay for the win. Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, oh my god. I need you guys to go back and watch this match. I mean, the match itself was terrible, but Bianca Belair and Ruby Riott beating the shit out of the Iconics, that's always a good sight. But the Iconics, I swear to God, they're like 2 Alexa Blisses. They're like 2 Alexa Blisses. They literally seem afraid. They're literally afraid to wrestle. They're literally afraid to take a bump. They wrestle as if they're afraid to get hurt. Why did you even become professional wrestlers if you're afraid to get hurt? You can clearly see in the ring that they do not want to take any bumps. They do not want to get hurt at all. It's the same shit as Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss, Billie Kay, and Peyton Royce, they're afraid. They're afraid to get hurt. There's nothing that they have done. Nothing that they've done that has shown me that they have any potential. They're not entertaining. They're not good wrestlers. Get that out of your fucking head. If you enjoy them, go on. You can enjoy them all you want, but that don't mean they're good. You can enjoy them all you want, but just because you enjoy something, that doesn't mean it's good. So don't be coming into my fucking mentions and telling me what's what when it comes to these 2 worthless excuses for professional wrestlers. Akira Tozawa versus R-Truth, 24/7 championship. I need that 24/7 title needs to go. Shayna Baszler came out. Yes, Shayna Baszler was alive as well. Shayna Baszler was alive. Shayna Baszler then destroys the ninjas. Tozawa then calmly walked away. Truth goes, I'll let myself out. Threw the mic at Baszler, and then he left. Even Shayna Baszler is sick of the Jackie Chan bullshit. So Shayna Baszler said that she's been patient, but now she's done. These champions are fooling themselves into thinking they are in control. She has no problem introducing them to reality, and she is that reality. Shayna Baszler is the next Raw Women's Champion. No excuses. You know, Kairi Sane actually did tease that she wants Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. If that's the case, then I don't mind seeing that at SummerSlam. Because realistically speaking, Asuka, she shouldn't be losing the championship anytime soon. She's only held it for about 2 months. If she goes into SummerSlam and she loses it to Baszler, then she would have only held it for 3 months. So, if anything, since Kairi Sane is on her way out, I would definitely not mind them putting Kairi Sane against Asuka at SummerSlam, and that's Kairi Sane's swan song. Kairi Sane leaves, Asuka retains, and then in the fall, you can have Shayna Baszler win the championship, and then you could build up Bianca Belair to take the title off of Baszler at WrestleMania 37. That would be good. That I have no problem with. So Rollins, he came out to deliver a message. He kept on saying an eye for an eye over and over again. He says, I know what it means, but it has come to my understanding that Rey meant it literally. He says that he will be forced to rip and gouge until he's completely blind, him meaning Rey Mysterio. He'll never see his wife's face. He'll never see his son get married. He'll never see another sun rise or sunset. But it will be a new beginning. Owens interrupted. He says, you're such a scumbag that you made a man legitimately want to gouge your eyes out. So Owens says he actually got a little present from his friend Jean-Pierre Lafitte, and then he pulled out an eye patch. So Murphy came out, Black came out, and the brawl broke out going into commercial. Black versus Murphy took place. This one went 5 minutes, and of course, it ended via DQ, because it wouldn't be WWE. It wouldn't be WWE if you didn't put 2 guys out there who could give you a great match and not have it end in a DQ. DQs need to be abolished. DQs need to be abolished. Murphy targeted the leg of Black, the right leg specifically. Black unloaded on Murphy with some heavy punches and kicks, big jumping knee to Murphy for a 2. Murphy tried to suplex Black to the outside, but Black hit the Black mass before Rollins broke it up. Rey and Dominic came out, and they all surrounded Rollins. So Rollins and Owens had a WrestleMania rematch. Now, the match itself was very, very good. Lazy booking, but it was a very good match. Rollins lost. Typical. Rollins lost, so now we know the outcome of the match at Extreme Rules. Owens and Rollins. The match itself was very good. We're actually going to go over it. Rollins kept trying to run away. Owens kept on going after him. Black and the Mysterios kept on cornering Rollins. Rollins with a chop block to the ankle, big suicide dive going into commercial. Owens caught Rollins with a super kick and a big DDT, planting Rollins on the top of his head for a 2. Big middle rope blockbuster by Rollins for a 2. Super kick by Owens, enziguri, and a super kick by Rollins for another close 2 count. Rollins raked the eyes of Owens, but Black and Dominic and Rey distracted Rollins before Owens was able to hit a stunner, and he beat Rollins. Owens, yes, he gains momentum, which I'm happy about, and I'm glad that Owens is gaining momentum, and I'm glad that Owens, more likely than not, will be put in a WWE Championship match at some point. I hope. Match was very good, but Rollins, he should not have been losing. If you wanted to do a DQ, I wouldn't have minded a DQ here. DQs, I say that they should be abolished, but in certain cases, only in certain cases. I say that they should be abolished, but that's only because we see them so fucking often. That's the only reason why. Black and Murphy didn't need a DQ. I would have not minded if this would have gotten a DQ or if Rollins would have won. But Rey took the mic and he says, you've crossed every line that there is to cross. This Sunday, you're walking in with 2 eyes, but you're walking out with only 1. And that was that. I'm telling you, this eye for an eye bullshit, it's just so fucking cheesy. It's so cheesy. I really don't know what to say about this. So, then we had a video package showcasing how Randy Orton earned the moniker of the Legend Killer, which was great, by the way. Great video package. So Orton cut a promo in the back, talking about his friendships with Big Show, Edge, and Christian. Talked about Ric Flair. He says that he respects Truth, and it's a shame that he's just another chapter in the book of the Legend Killer. R-Truth and Randy Orton, RKO in 30 seconds for the win. Orton then with a setup. He was setting up for the punt on Truth before the Big Show came out. Orton said that he wasn't going to punt R-Truth. That punt was set for you. And he challenged Big Show to an unsanctioned match next week. Yeah, because Big Show versus Randy Orton in an unsanctioned match in the main event of Monday Night Raw in 2020 is really going to drive the ratings above a 2.0 million. At least it's not on the pay-per-view, right? We had a big brawl from Drew and Dolph in the back, nothing that we've already seen. Bobby Lashley versus Ricochet. Lashley wins with the full Nelson. Lashley took out both men after the match. Can I just say something here? Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, they're a tag team. Realistically speaking, they should be being built up to take the titles off of Angel Garza and Andrade after Angel Garza and Andrade eventually beat the Street Profits for the tag team titles. They should be being built up separately, but instead, they're being used as enhancement talents. They're being used as enhancement talents for a guy who is, again, while he's been putting on decent performances, which is Bobby Lashley, while he's been putting on decent performances, he's past the point of no return. He's not going to be winning any championships. He shouldn't be in any championship matches. Little to no one is going to take the guy seriously after that wedding angle, and if you do take the guy seriously, you are in the minority. I'm sorry to inform you, you are in the minority if you take Bobby Lashley seriously right now. Bobby Lashley is damaged goods, no matter how good of performances he has been putting on in the last few weeks, and no matter how dominant he's being booked, he's damaged goods. No one's going to take him seriously. Kabuki Warriors versus Sasha and Bayley for the women's tag team titles. This itself was a very, very good women's tag team championship match. Sasha Banks and Bayley, I'm telling you right now, a lot of people are saying that Sasha Banks and Bayley are really carrying the main roster. You know, I would say absolutely. They are part of a select handful of people that's literally carrying the main roster on their backs across both shows. It's Sasha, Bayley, Orton, and Drew McIntyre. Those four individuals are literally carrying Raw and SmackDown. Single-handedly. Those four individuals are the four pillars that are carrying the main roster right now. So Kyrie came in like a house of fire. Big double arm drag, double spear, and a sliding D. Kyrie was actually sent hard, face first, into the plexiglass before Asuka got the hot tag. We had a big 2 count on Bayley. A close 2 count on Bayley. Double knees to Asuka by Banks for a 2. We had Asuka taking out Sasha. Sasha got to the ropes. Or Asuka lock on Asuka. Sasha got to the ropes. Big insane elbow, but Bayley saved it. Big forearm shot by Kairi Sane in an Alabama slam. Sasha then reversed the sliding D into the bank statement, which was a beautiful transition, and Kairi Sane taps out. Very good women's tag team championship match with the right team winning, the right woman taking the loss, and that was it. All in all, outside of Owens and Rollins, outside of Shayna and Bianca returning, and outside of the main event, show us the same old shit that we've seen every single week. It's a clusterfuck. It's a clusterfuck backstage. Moving on to AEW Dark. I'm telling you, AEW Dark, I'm really fucking getting sick of these 7-8 match shows with nothing but enhancement matches. Well, why did we need to see the Dark Order in 6-man tag team match for about 7 minutes? Meanwhile, Robert Ego Anthony and Ricky Starks only got 5 minutes. I want to see more of Robert Ego Anthony and Ricky Starks, but you can't really do that if it's only 5 minutes. You should have taken the 6-man tag off the show, and instead of 5 minutes for Robert Ego Anthony and Ricky Starks, you should have given them 11 minutes. Rochelle Chanel and Diamante versus Brandy Rhodes and Allie. I've said it once and I'll say it again. This storyline's fucking terrible. The Nightmare Sisters, as if the Nightmare Collective wasn't already bad enough. Now this isn't as bad, but it's still bad. Allie's gotten better, I will say that. Allie's gotten better, but we don't need to see Brandy. Diamante is very, very good. Diamante is very, very good. Rochelle Chanel, she is just as bad as Alicia Fox. She cannot wrestle. Brandy Rhodes and Allie win. Brandy with a spear for the win. Robert Ego Anthony versus Ricky Starks. It was a nice little back and forth, but come on. You really going to have Will Hobbs, Joe Alonzo, and Shawn Dean versus the Dark Order get more time than Ricky Starks and Robert Ego Anthony? Come on. We had a big misdirection spear by Ricky Starks, swinging neckbreaker for a 2, tilt-a-whirl gourd buster by Anthony. Robert Ego Anthony, I would love to see them sign Robert Ego Anthony. Robert Ego Anthony is very, very good. Starks with a punt kick and a butterfly dominator. So he had him in a butterfly suplex position, picked him up, almost like he was going for an implant buster, and he switched it into a dominator for the win. Ricky Starks is 3-0, I believe. Or 2-1 rather. 2-1 in his last 3 matches. So Ricky Starks, he's actually building his resume quite nicely. Ricky Starks, he's impressing me very, very much. Shawn Dean, Will Hobbs, and Joe Alonzo versus the Dark Order. Decent match, but it went way too fucking long. John Silver, Alex Reynolds, and Alan Angels. Again, as I've stated before, who in the fucking Dark Order is going anywhere outside of Brody Lee, Stu Grayson, and Evil Uno? They're not going anywhere. They'll get wins, but they're not winning championships. Double flipping DDT for the win. Decent match, but it went way too fucking long. Michael Nakazawa versus Yeah, another one. Michael Nakazawa is getting more time than Robert Ego Anthony and Ricky Starks. I'm telling you, if there's one thing that I'm hoping for, I'm hoping that this pandemic is going to end soon, so that way we can actually get fans back and we can get an actual fucking AEW Dark. We can get an actual fucking AEW Dark, because I'm telling you, these squash matches, I cannot stand to see these squash matches. I cannot stand to see fucking Michael Nakazawa. And the only reason why they're using him is because they have a limited roster. Marco Stunt wins here. Michael Nakazawa pulled out his fucking thong, the fucking Venom's tentacles, I think they call it, and Marco Stunt dodged it, and he ended up putting his own thong in his face, did Michael Nakazawa. Marco Stunt gets the win. This match was fucking terrible. Terrible. Brady Pierce and Pineapple Pete versus Luther and Serpentico. Serpentico is awesome. Serpentico is very, very good. I would not mind if they signed Serpentico, but Luther's a waste of time. Luther and Serpentico win here with the Powerbomb Meteoric combination. Another decent match, but again, it went way too fucking long. Again, you really couldn't have given time to Ricky Starks and Robert Ego Anthony? Come on. Jurassic Express versus Peter Avalon and Brandon Cutler. Peter Avalon and Brandon Cutler, for the last month, they have been undoubtedly the best thing on AEW Dark. They're literally the Sasha Banks and Bayley of AEW Dark. They are carrying AEW Dark. They're carrying the show. You know, originally I thought that we were going to get Peter Avalon and Brandon Cutler one-on-one, probably at a later date, and eventually they would have to get a win. But apparently, week by week, we're starting to see them show more cohesion. We're starting to see them show more unity as a tag team. We're starting to see them get more fluid together in the ring, swift double team moves. We're starting to see them get more and more on the same page, and each and every single week, they're coming closer and closer to a win. And when they eventually get that win, it's really going to be special. It's legitimately making me want to see them get a win. All Elite Wrestling, I didn't think that this was going anywhere except a match between the two, but it seems as though they're really going forth with this tag team. And they're getting better each and every single time they compete as a tag team. So much so that I would not mind, when they start getting wins, I would not mind seeing them as an underdog tag team. I really wouldn't mind them seeing them as an underdog tag team whatsoever. They could possibly win the tag team titles at a later date. I would not mind this whatsoever, because they're actually a very good tag team. They've been putting on the best match on AEW Dark for the last couple weeks now. This was actually a very good tag team match. It only went about 9 minutes, but for 9 minutes, this was very good. Jurassic Express versus Peter Avalon and Brandon Cutler. Big wheelbarrow flatliner on Cutler for a 2. We had a spinning roundhouse kick by Luchasaurus for a 2. Leaping leg drop by Cutler on Jungle Boy for a 2. Luchasaurus came in, swift kicks to both men, tail whip on Avalon, choke slam, and a moonsault on Cutler. Cutler nearly got a win off of a small package. We had a swinging DDT by, who was it? Swinging DDT by Brandon Cutler on Luchasaurus, springboard DDT by Avalon, and then a Meteora to the back, and then a springboard elbow drop, but Jungle Boy broke up the pin. It was a very nice sequence there from Avalon and Brandon Cutler. Avalon and Brandon Cutler, they have really gelled very, very nicely as a tag team. So Avalon, he got taken out. Tope on both men. Tiger suplex on Avalon for a 2. Then we got the Extinction event on Avalon for the win. Very, very good tag team match, and that was it. Brian Pillman Jr. versus Brian Cage, FTW Championship. I've said it once and I'll say it again. The FTW Championship, I don't even know what the fuck they're doing with it. I thought it was just supposed to be a passing of the torch type deal. And in a sense it is, but he's defending the championship on AEW now. Excalibur saying it's recognized as an outlaw title, but he's defending it. And he just destroyed Brian Pillman Jr. here. Absolutely destroyed him. Powerbomb into the post. Cesaro-like superplex and a drill claw to retain the title. It seems as though that they just put the title on Brian Cage, and they had Taz bring up the FTW Championship just because of the simple fact that they have no championship plans for Cage after his match with Moxley. And I talked about this on the Rewind for AEW Fight for the Fall in 2020. If you want to go and rewatch it, link is in the description. I don't really know what they're doing there. But Brian Cage, he's looking great. He did not submit and he did not get pinned against Moxley. So they have a plan for Brian Cage. They do have a plan for Brian Cage. He's going into a feud with Darby Allin. We'll see how that plays out. But again, outside of Avalon and Cutler's match, AEW Dark, very, very skippable, very lackluster. We had some terrible fucking matches. Michael Nakazawa, we don't need to see fucking Michael Nakazawa. Roche Chanel, just as bad as Alicia Fox. I don't even know what they're doing with AEW Dark right now. I'm going to continue to watch it, but they really need to pick it up a notch. They really do. NXT. NXT is slowly, it's not entirely there. It's not the NXT that we all know and love. NXT is slowly trying to get back to where it was before the pandemic. I don't think they're going to reach that period that they were in before the pandemic because they were just untouchable before the pandemic, especially TakeOver Portland. But NXT itself, the show was very good. So Keith Lee, he kicked off the show, and he asked Alicia Taylor, could you please say that again? Like, announce me as a double champion one more time. So obviously Keith Lee getting his charismatic one-liners in there. Could you please, charismatic questions, could you please say that again? Gotta love Keith Lee. So he gets announced as a double champion again, and he says, that was beautiful. He says he feels the energy that him and the WWE Universe creates every time he comes out there. He says that there's been a lot of struggles, but now everyone can live vicariously through him. He was just trying to say, like, hey, I'm giving you my moment. I'm giving you my feel-good moments, and I'm giving you guys something to invest your time in. So he goes, there's a lot of people there, meaning there's a lot of people back in the locker room looking for an opportunity. And he says that there's someone backstage looking for an opportunity, someone who I hold near and dear to me. And he brings out Dominik Dijakovic to talk. Dijakovic said, this is not about me, this is about you. But Lee says, it is about you because the competition between us propelled me towards opportunity, which is true. And I like the fact that they're acknowledging the past between Dijakovic and Keith Lee. I like the fact that they're giving credit where credit's due because the competition between Dijakovic and Lee did launch Keith Lee into opportunity. So Keith Lee said he talked to Regal and he says that the first challenger should be Dominik Dijakovic. So Dijakovic says when? Lee says, let's do it tonight. And Dijakovic says yes. Great promo. Not going to lie, great promo, but what has Dijakovic really done to deserve a double championship match? Seems as though that they just did this to put a double championship match on the night as clickbait. And it was a decent match, but it only went about like 9 minutes. It was nothing special whatsoever. It seems as though they only did this match just for the simple fact of they wanted something else for people to gravitate away from All Elite Wrestling, Fight for the Fallen, and watch NXT, which it didn't work. AEW won the overall viewership and the demos, and I don't care about the ratings, but I'm just gonna say the demos just to piss people off now, because Jericho's great. If you're, because you guys are getting worked by Jericho calling himself the demo god. I should start calling myself the demo god of YouTube. Although I'm pretty sure someone already has that. I don't know. So then we had Damian Priest versus Cameron Grimes. This was a damn good match between Damian Priest and Cameron Grimes. This was their best match to date, actually. Cameron Grimes, you know how I've been an advocate for Cameron Grimes. Every single time Cameron Grimes steps into the ring, he puts on a fantastic fucking performance, whether it's Keith Lee, Dijakovic, Finn Balor, Johnny Gargano, Matt Riddle, now it's Damian Priest. Cameron Grimes is legit. So Priest went right after Grimes before Grimes took over, targeting the midsection of Priest, which was injured. Priest turned Grimes inside out with a huge lariat. Grimes sold his ass off for Damian Priest here. Priest with the razor's edge on the apron, lifting flatliner for a 2. We had a beautiful Spanish fly from Cameron Grimes. I do not know how the fuck Cameron Grimes does a Spanish fly on these guys, whether it's Dijakovic or Keith Lee. He did one on Keith Lee earlier this year. I'm like, how the fuck is he doing this? So beautiful Spanish fly for a 2 count. Big cyclone kick as Cameron Grimes got tied up in the ropes, and then a reckoning, aka the Crossroads, off of the second rope for the win. Damn good match, and Damian Priest is watching. He said, looked into the camera and said he's watching closely to see who's going to take the title off of, or who's going to take the titles off of Keith Lee, whether it's Dominic Dijakovic or Keith Lee. He's watching to see who comes out victorious. And if they want to, I think Keith Lee could be in top contention to defend the North American Championship against Damian Priest. I would love to see Damian Priest as North American Champion. I think Damian Priest has really earned it. Damian Priest, he's really come into his own with this character. Great in the ring. He is very good on the microphone. I love the character. Damian Priest, he has definitely benefited the most recently in this pandemic era. He's had a great match with Keith Lee, great match with Finn Balor, great match with Cameron Grimes. He could be in top contention to win the North American title. So, Damian Priest, keep your eye on Damian Priest. Shotzi Blackheart versus Indy Hartwell. Indy Hartwell is terrible. She is terrible. She botched the big boot. We had Robert Stone coming out to distract the ref, and Aaliyah tripped up Shotzi. Shotzi is way too good to be caught up with fucking Robert Stone and Aaliyah. I'm telling you, this Robert Stone bullshit. And again, I want to ask the question. I'm going to continue to ask until I get a legitimate answer. It has been a month and a half, almost 2 months, since Chelsea Green and Robert Stone split up. You had something decent with Robert Stone and Chelsea Green. Why did you break them up if Robert Stone was going to be the focus of the breakup and Chelsea Green was going to be left in catering? This is a Vince McMahon initiative down to a T. Vince McMahon initiative down to a T, because he looks at Chelsea Green and he's like, oh, this ain't my mold for a women's wrestler. No, Robert Stone, we're gonna have Robert Stone out there acting like an idiot every single week on NXT. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. I swear to God, I don't know where Chelsea Green is, but if I was Chelsea Green, I would leave. If I was Chelsea Green, I would go to All Elite Wrestling, to be quite honest with you. If you are legitimately surpassed for Robert Stone and comedy bullshit, where Robert Stone's gonna puke everywhere and get his ass kicked by Rhea Ripley and thrown in the dumpster, if that is what you are getting surpassed for, then you should leave. If I was Chelsea Green, I'd get the fuck out of there. I'm telling you, this has Vince McMahon written all over it. Terrible shit right here. We had a promo package for Lagado del Fantasma. This was awesome. This was some spectacular stuff. This was very, very well put together. Legado del Fantasma, they have been one of the best things about NXT ever since they came together. And I loved what they were doing right here. We had Santos Escobar And Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza, they were dressed up all nicely, sitting in a nice bar. It was honestly giving me John Wick vibes. The Hitman, John Wick vibes. When John Wick and John Wick was sitting in the Hitman's bar. And he was toasting. He was toasting with one of the assassins that he was chasing at the time before he eventually killed the man on company grounds. I think that was the second movie. John Wick vibes I was getting from this entire segment. I love the presentation. Their presentation has been flawless. I like Santos Escobar. He's toasting to the end of Drake Maverick. Joaquin Wilde says, to the little Chihuahua. He was hyping up Raul Mendoza, the lethal assassin. He was talking about Joaquin Wilde and his beautiful aerial moves. And he goes, me, I am the leader. We are Lagado del Fantasma. So they were toasting to building up their empire. Great stuff right here from Lagado del Fantasma. And I'm telling you right now, if they really want to have a hostile takeover, I would put Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde in the tag team division. And I would love to see Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde as tag team champions. So them with the tag team titles and Santos Escobar with the Cruiserweight Championship. Nice look right there. It's a very, very nice look. Santos Escobar carries himself like a fucking superstar. He carries himself like a stud. The only thing critical I will say is that they need to get Santos Escobar some legitimate competition. They need to get Santos Escobar some legitimate competition because he has not defended the championship in almost 2 months. They need to get him some legitimate competition because the Cruiserweight Championship, it's almost becoming a prop of Santos Escobar. But other than that, the promo package, spectacular stuff. So we had Keith Lee versus Dominik Dijakovic. NXT and NXT North American Championship match. Decent match, but nothing special that we've already seen between the two. This is like their 5th match, their 6th match together. We've really seen this match so many times that you can pretty much predict what's going to happen. Decent match. It only went 9 minutes, but nothing special whatsoever. We had swift back and forth. Dominik Dijakovic tried for Feast Your Eyes, but Lee got out, and you saw Dominik Dijakovic looking at Lee saying, not close, not close. So Lee with a spinning flatliner off the middle rope for a 2. Dominik Dijakovic fought out of the clutches of Lee on the top rope, delivered a beautiful blockbuster for a 2 count. Lee with a Grizzly Magnum chop, pop-up spinebuster, and the Big Bang Catastrophe for the win. Decent match. They embraced afterwards. Scarlett then came out with a black bag, poured the black bag out, and she showcased the shattered pieces of the hourglass that Keith Lee smashed. I said it once and I'll say it again. This is why I don't like Keith Lee as a double champion, because I know what it's going to result in. What should have happened, and I stated this before, what should have happened is Keith Lee should have lost the North American Championship he should have lost the North American Championship specifically at the TakeOver before SummerSlam, whether that would have been to Dijakovic or Karrion Kross or Damien Priest, one of those 3. I say Dominik Dijakovic because Dominik Dijakovic should not be going up to Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. Monday Night Raw doesn't need Dominik Dijakovic. SmackDown needs some talent. SmackDown needs the talent, but Dominik Dijakovic, he barely even got started in NXT. Realistically speaking, Dominik Dijakovic, he should not be going up to Raw or SmackDown. Dominik Dijakovic could take the title off Keith Lee, but they're electing to put him on Raw or SmackDown. Why is he going on Raw? You have the talent on Raw. You're not utilizing them correctly. Keith Lee, now he's a double champion. Now what? We have to watch Keith Lee as a transitional champion for Karrion Kross, and you're going to get the NXT Championship on Karrion Kross when you should have had Keith Lee lose the title at the TakeOver before SummerSlam, the North American title. Then Adam Cole could have faced off against Finn Balor. Then Adam Cole could have retained. Adam Cole could have been built up to face Keith Lee in the fall at the fall TakeOver. Then Keith Lee wins the NXT Championship. He has a lengthy reign going into 2021. Then you can put it on Karrion Kross. And I'm thoroughly convinced If I am thoroughly convinced, there is no way that anyone can tell me that Vince McMahon is not behind Karrion Kross's push in NXT. I have loved the presentation of Karrion Kross. I really love the presentation of Karrion Kross. I think Karrion Kross is doing some great work, and I can't wait to see what he does against Dominik Dijakovic next week. But it is way too early for him to win the NXT Championship. I would have much rather have taken him as the NXT North American Championship, or I would have much rather have seen him get built up over the course of the next 6 to 8 months. There's no reason for Karrion Kross to be in the championship title conversation this early. He's been here for not even 4 months. Not even 4 months. And already we're talking about him beating Keith Lee and becoming NXT champion. That's disrespectful to Keith Lee. This is why I can't get behind a double champion, because we know what it's going to result in. It's going to result in one of those championships getting taken off the guy in a month and a half. And the takeover before SummerSlam, Karrion Kross is taking that title off of Keith Lee. Keith Lee, I would have much rather have seen Keith Lee lose the NXT North American Championship to Damien Priest, but keep the NXT Championship. Yeah, it's going to be a great match between Keith Lee and Karrion Kross. Don't get me wrong. I would love a King Kong versus Godzilla clash, but why are we seeing it this early? No reason for Karrion Kross to be in the NXT title picture this early. No reason. Karrion Kross and Dominik Dijakovic actually had a run-in backstage. They brawled into a backstage area Full Sail. Kross actually suplexed Dijakovic out onto the concrete before saying tick-tock, and he walks away. So Timothy Thatcher versus Denzel Desjournette. Single-leg Boston Crab for the tap-out win in 1 minute. Oney Lorcan then came out to help Desjournette after Thatcher wouldn't stop. I would not mind seeing Oney Lorcan and Thatcher once again, because they beat the shit out of one another on the first night of the Great American Bash. But I have one question. Why is Oney Lorcan in a singles feud with Timothy Thatcher when realistically Lorcan and Danny Burch should be being built up to take the titles off of Imperium? Imperium hasn't been seen since they defended the titles against Breezango. Where's Imperium? If there's one influence that Vince McMahon has definitely had over NXT, it's the fact that they're not showing tag teams. That's how I know Vince McMahon has his hands on NXT, because they're not focusing on the tag team division. Ever since WrestleMania, they've completely just forgotten about tag team wrestling. I don't like that. I do not like that they're putting Oney Lorcan in a singles feud with Timothy Thatcher, and they're not building up Lorcan and Burch to take the titles off of Imperium. Imperium should be being built up to face off against Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish at the takeover before SummerSlam for the NXT Tag Team Championships. Killian Dane versus Dexter Lumis was set for next week, as well as Karrion Kross and Dijakovic. Dexter Lumis was drawing his little sketches, and Robert Stone tried to apologize to Killian Dane for throwing the coffee on him. Killian Dane says, "You want to make this up to me? Get me a match with Lumis." And we get Killian Dane and Dexter Lumis next week. Should be great. As well as Karrion Kross versus Dominik Dijakovic. That should also be great. So we got 2 big matches set for NXT next week. Tegan Nox versus Io Shirai for the NXT Women's Championship. This itself was a great match. This is a great way for Io Shirai to start off her NXT Women's Championship reign. Tegan Nox made the most sense, considering she got the win at TakeOver, and then she won the Fatal 4-Way. They were building up Dakota Kai. Now, Dakota Kai ended up kicking Io Shirai after the match, which means that, more likely than not, she'll be facing off against Io Shirai at the TakeOver before SummerSlam, which I have no problem with. But at the same point in time, I need to ask the question, how are you really going to make people believe that Dakota Kai is credible? Now, of course, I know that Dakota Kai is legit, and I know that Dakota Kai is credible, but no one believes that Dakota Kai is going to take the title off of Io Shirai, especially after Io Shirai's only held the championship for 3 months once we get to TakeOver before SummerSlam. So there's no reason for Io Shirai to lose the championship. And especially, Dakota Kai has been pinned in her last 2 big matches, yet she is now in contention for the NXT Women's Championship. How are you going to build her up? Can I have her beat a couple of enhancement talents? It's really not the way to go about it, but you should really have built Dakota Kai up over the course of the last few months, she shouldn't have been pinned. And then maybe we could have gotten behind Dakota Kai as a legitimate contender for the NXT Women's Championship against Io Shirai. But no, you have Dakota Kai get pinned by Tegan Nox not once but twice. Tegan Nox earns the NXT Women's Championship match. Great match at that. Great match at that. But Dakota Kai is not winning. Dakota Kai is not going to be winning the NXT Women's Championship. They have a lot of people lined up for Io Shirai to beat. Dakota Kai is going to lose. Rhea Ripley more than likely is going to lose. The one person that's taking the title off of Io Shirai is Candice LeRae. A, because she's being built up. B, they have history. C, she's the best heel character in the division, and by the end of the year, there is no doubt in my mind that she's going to be the NXT Women's Champion. Candice LeRae is the correct woman to take the title off of Io Shirai sometime in the fall, probably November. We'll see what happens there, but Io Shirai is going to have a nice, lengthy reign with the NXT Women's Championship, and Io Shirai is going to drop it to Candice LeRae. Dakota Kai is going to be an interim opponent for Io Shirai come the SummerSlam TakeOver special. But the match itself with Tegan Nox was great. We had a big fallaway slam for a 2 count. Shirai with the double knees to the gut of Nox. Shirai sent Nox into the steps. Shirai drove her own knees into the steps. Nox with the cannonball to Shirai when she was in the Tree of Woe position. Shirai got her hand on the rope though. Big diving crossbody for a 2 on Nox. Big choke slam, but Io Shirai kicked out again. Io came back with a 619 and a missile drop kick for a close 2 count. Nox with a sit-out gourd buster. Very nice move there by Nox. And then she hit the Molly go-round, but Shirai still kicked out. Nox went for the shiniest wizard, but Shirai, and this was great by Shirai. Shirai with a beautiful palm strike. Right to the fucking nose. Boom. And Nox was out. Nox was out there, but Io Shirai's like, you know what? I'm going to do one more for good measures. And she hit the moonsault, and she retains the NXT Women's Championship. Great first title defense for Io Shirai. Tegan Nox, I don't really know where she goes. To be quite honest, she could go up to the main roster. I would not mind it. They need her. They need someone on SmackDown. They fucking need someone on SmackDown because SmackDown, oh my lord. SmackDown, the women's division is fucking terrible. And I'm going to talk about one specific person, meaning Naomi. Naomi fucking deserves better. And there was a hashtag trending. It was actually trending #1 on my timeline. Hashtag Naomi deserves better. And I am in full agreement with everyone tweeting that. Naomi fucking deserves better. But we'll talk about that once we get to SmackDown and the ending of that match with Lacey Evans. Great match, and afterwards, Kai came in with a huge punt kick right to the side of the head. Dakota Kai looks like Io Shirai's next challenger at TakeOver before SummerSlam. Outside of the Robert Stone bullshit, I would say this was actually a very good episode of NXT. They really need to get rid of Robert Stone. We got some great wrestling on the show. Io Shirai is one of the best things about NXT right now. I'm loving Io Shirai. SmackDown, of course, was terrible. What else is new? Outside of the opening match and the main event, and they screwed the fuck up out of the main event as well. But outside of the opening match and the main event, nothing happened on the show. You could have skipped the show if you wanted to, and I'm surprised I didn't skip the show. I would probably have saved about 20 minutes on the Lightning Flash update. Big E versus Cesaro kicked off the show. Started off with a wrestling match, which I'm actually happy about. That was probably the one. That was one positive. You started off with a wrestling match, which I'll take. Big E and Cesaro. Cesaro with a diving double axe handle off of the top. Big E came back with a barrage of belly to bellies and a big splash as well. Big splash on the apron going into commercial. Big Uranagi out of the corner to Cesaro. Side note here. I actually love the corner Uranagi that Big E does. And I've said this numerous amounts of times. Big E, New Day needs to break up, and Big E needs to be a top singles heel. Big E is someone that I can see as a heel world champion. Big E is someone that I can see, if he gets serious, Big E could be a legitimate heel world champion. I would love to see Big E in a singles role as the WWE champion. I think Big E could be a great singles heel for someone else to beat, and for someone else, a nice underdog babyface to beat and get built up from. Big E, I'm actually surprised that they didn't have Big E take the WWE Championship off of Kofi Kingston. I would have loved to seen Big E versus Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship. It could have been Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa-esque. So, Big E with a Uranagi for a very close 2 count. Springboard Swiss uppercut by Cesaro for a 2. Love the springboard Swiss uppercut. Cesaro with a sharpshooter, but Big E was able to get to the ropes. Nakamura took out Kofi, and then Nakamura hit a cheap shot behind the ref's back. Neutralizer for the win. Very good match here. Nakamura and Cesaro got to pick the stipulation. Kofi jumped over the top with a tope on both men as they went for a table. Kofi set up the table, but Nakamura and Cesaro got out of dodge. So they picked the tables match this Sunday at the Horror Show at Extreme Rules. I've said it once, and I'll say it again. This cannot end any other way. No other way than with Cesaro and Nakamura winning the tag team championships. There's no one else. No one else for the New Day. No reason for the New Day to still be together. No reason for the New Day to still be tag team champions. No reason for the New Day to have 3 tag team title reigns within 9 fucking months. Get the titles off the fucking New Day. Put them on Cesaro and Shinsuke. Cesaro and Shinsuke are your new champions. This cannot end any other way. Moment of bliss. Ah, yes, moment of bliss. Oh, great, a moment of bliss. Hey, Bliss. I don't know if you're watching. She's probably not watching me. Now, what fucking WWE superstar watches me anyway? Who am I? I'm a no. I don't get paid for this. I don't get paid for this. I'm just a random dude, a random 21-year-old dude from Jersey with thick black sideburns and a chin strap and a mustache that talks about wrestling and curses on YouTube. Who am I? Who am I? Hey, Bliss, if you are watching me, please, why don't you get me on your shitty talk show? Talk to Vince. Maybe I can get the ratings above a 2 million. I promise I won't bash you for your shitty in-ring ability anymore. Felt like being a prick today. So Nikki Cross, I don't know what the fuck. I legitimately zoned out. I didn't even want to fucking pay attention here. Alexa Bliss tells Nikki that she isn't even her special guest before Bayley and Sasha came out, so they run down Nikki Cross, they run down Alexa Bliss. They say they're the architects of the women's evolution, which is true, by the way. This is indisputable, unadulterated facts. Sasha and Bayley started the women's evolution, not Charlotte, not the fucking Bellas, not Total Bellas, not Total Divas, get that out of your fucking head, not Ronda. Sasha and Bayley started it. You think anyone else started it? You're a fucking moron. So Alexa introduces Asuka, a brawl breaks out, Bliss calls for a referee, and we get a tag team match. Tag team match wasn't even bad. I'm not even going to sit here and tell you that the tag team match was bad. It wasn't bad, but at the same point in time, we have seen this tag team match however many times booked on either Raw or SmackDown, rotated around the same 6 women. It's either the Kabuki Warriors versus Sasha and Bayley, or it's Bliss and Cross versus Sasha and Bayley. Now it's Nikki Cross and Asuka versus Sasha and Bayley. Wasn't a bad match, but how many times can we fucking see it before we get tired of it? I had my head buried in my phone. Actually, no, I didn't. I had my head buried in my phone for Naomi and Lacey Evans. I actually did take notes on this. So Nikki was isolated. Asuka came in. She took out both Sasha and Bayley. Nikki with a crossbody to Sasha going into commercial. Asuka was isolated by Bayley and Sasha. Cross got the hot tag. Big tornado DDT to Bayley on the floor. Banks broke up the pin. Banks with a kick to Asuka. Asuka and Sasha got taken out. And Bayley with a leverage pin on the ropes for the win. Match wasn't bad, but how many times have we fucking seen it on either Raw or SmackDown scattered throughout the course of the last few weeks leading up to the pay-per-view on Sunday? Oh, and by the way, Nikki Cross, she takes the pin. No one could lose in this match because they're all going into respective championship matches. Stereotypical WWE route to have one of these teams lose. I get it. Nikki Cross is not winning. Nikki Cross is a complete bum. Nikki Cross in this current character is terrible. For the second week in a row, Nikki Cross loses. I get that Bayley's not losing, but at least try to make Nikki Cross look somewhat legitimate. John Morrison versus Braun Strowman. So Braun Strowman actually, he actually took the microphone and he actually showcased some intensity that we have not seen in a long, long time. Braun Strowman actually, this entire segment actually made Braun Strowman look the best he's ever looked in like 2 to 3 years. I'm not even going to bullshit you. This was probably the best that Braun Strowman's ever looked in 2 to 3 years. But it was at the expense of John Morrison. And I'll talk about that in a minute. First things first, I'll get the positive stuff out of the way first. I will say this. He took the microphone. He says he's willing to walk through the gates of hell and slap the devil in his face. He's willing to prevent Bray from turning into the Fiend because that's everything that he's feared. Anger, regret, self-doubt. He needs to end Wyatt before Wyatt ends him. So Strowman just threw Morrison around like a rag doll. One-handed choke slam, running power slam for the win. And he whispers into the microphone, "Wyatt, I hope you're watching. I'm coming home." So the paramedics came out to help Morrison, and that was it. Where the fuck has this Braun Strowman been? And here's another thing. Where the fuck has this Braun Strowman been, number one? That was probably the best that Braun Strowman's looked in years, which I have no problem with. Probably the best that Braun Strowman's looked in years. Now, that doesn't mean I want to see more of him. That doesn't mean I'm a fan of Braun Strowman. That doesn't mean I have any respect for Braun Strowman. But, Jesus, where was this Braun Strowman? Where was this Braun Strowman against Lesnar? Where was this Braun Strowman? The intensity was great. The intensity was great. The intensity was there. The cinematic match, again, a cinematic match is probably the only way that you can make a Braun Strowman match enjoyable. So I'm actually looking forward to that. But why did you put John Morrison in here to get destroyed after you just put on a great match with Matt Riddle 2 weeks ago? You put on a great match with Matt Riddle 2 weeks ago, and you have him go in here and get destroyed by Braun Strowman in 2 minutes. That should have been The Miz. Honest to God, Morrison and Miz, they need to break up. Morrison should be in the upper mid-card to main event scene because, like I said, the upper mid-card to main event scene is terrible. They need people in that spot. They need people in that spot. Miz is at the bottom of the barrel. Miz, he needs to be repackaged. He needs to be rebuilt. The Miz is in such a shitty position right now to a point where I don't even want to see him. This partnership with John Morrison and The Miz is terrible. They need to break them up. Morrison needs to get away from The Miz. This should have been The Miz in this position. No reason for John Morrison to go in there and get embarrassed by Braun Strowman. No matter how good Braun Strowman looked, and he did look great. He looked great. Don't get me wrong. Braun Strowman looked intense. I had no problem with that. But John Morrison, disgusting fucking treatment of John Morrison. Lacey Evans versus Naomi. I didn't take any notes. I am proud to say that I did not take any notes on this match. All I know is that Lacey Evans won with the women's right. So what did we learn here? What did we learn here? Kiddies, pay attention. Professor Storms is talking now. Class is in session. What did we learn from this matchup? We learned that WWE saw what Naomi said on Instagram last week to a fan where she had to apologize for the shitty karaoke segment. And you know what Vince said? No. That karaoke segment was such good entertainment. How dare you apologize to a fan? Those fans don't know what entertainment is, and neither do you, Trinity. So you know what we're gonna do? You're losing to Lacey Evans next week on SmackDown on Fox. Punishment. Naomi was punished. Great treatment. You're treating one of the most underrated, not one of, the most underrated, period, the most underrated women's wrestler that you have employed in the company right now. You're treating her, Naomi, a woman who you could easily build a brand around, like a piece of shit because she had to go out of her way and apologize. She wants better for the women's division. She wants better. And this was the 5-year anniversary of the supposed start of the women's revolution, yet you're having a karaoke segment last week. You have a fucking karaoke segment, and you have a woman that actually represents what a women's revolution and a women's evolution is all about in Naomi. You have someone who legitimately represents change, who represents legitimacy, who represents what a women's wrestler should be about. And you have her lose to Lacey Evans as punishment because she had to apologize to a fan. She had to go out of her way and defend what she believes, what she knows women's wrestling is not about. And that's shitty karaoke. Punishment. This was nothing but punishment towards Naomi. And it is disgusting. If I was Naomi, I would fucking walk. I would walk. I would love to see her in All Elite Wrestling. She could be putting on some great matches. Great matches with Sheeta, with Ford, with Baker, with Swole, with Nyla, with Statlander. Get Naomi off of the WWE payroll. She does not deserve that type of treatment. They don't deserve a woman like Naomi. Sheamus attacked Jeff Hardy during an interview. Apparently, the bar fight will take place next week on SmackDown. No, that's pretty much it. I don't even want to talk about it. Hardy's going to lose. And to be quite honest, I really don't expect Hardy to walk out victorious, and I expect Sheamus to move on after Hardy loses. AJ Styles and Matt Riddle for the Intercontinental Championship. This in itself was the best thing on the show. This was a great match, but oh my God. What is wrong with this fucking company? I don't know. I don't get it. I really don't understand. I don't understand. I really don't understand. Styles and Riddle. If this was the match that you had planned for SummerSlam, why the fuck didn't you save it? Why did you need to have Matt Riddle beat AJ Styles in his debut and then fall victim to 50-50 booking here just to set up a match with Baron Corbin at Extreme Rules? Or the Horror Show at Extreme Rules? Now what? Are you telling me that Riddle is supposed to beat Baron Corbin after he lost clean? He lost clean to AJ Styles. Riddle has no case. Riddle has no case of why he should be challenging for the Intercontinental Championship. It's back of the line for Matt Riddle. All of a sudden, he beats Baron Corbin and now magically he moves on to AJ Styles again? Beating Baron Corbin is equivalent to fucking beating Denzel DeJournette in NXT. He's meaningless. Baron Corbin is at the bottom of the barrel. A win over Baron Corbin means nothing. It means nothing. Why? Why are you going to have Matt Riddle go in there and lose clean to AJ Styles? What should have happened, and I hate DQ finishes, but I would have been much more pleased with a DQ finish because at least Riddle would have had a case. If you didn't want to do a DQ finish, then you should have had Baron Corbin hit Riddle behind the ref's back and allowing AJ Styles to take advantage and retain the championship. Or, here's the best idea of them all. How about don't book the match on SmackDown? Why are you even going to book the match at SummerSlam? That's what I want to know. Why are you going to book the match at SummerSlam as well? It's way too early. You're going to have AJ Styles drop the Intercontinental Championship after 2 months to Matt Riddle? And it just goes to show you that WWE is lazy, and I don't want to hear the excuse of, oh, they don't have anyone else to challenge AJ Styles. That's not your fault. That's not my fault. That's WWE's fault. Because A, they don't build up anyone else. They don't build up anyone else with credibility and legitimacy. And B, they got 30-plus superstars out with COVID. It's their fault. It's their negligence that explains why they don't have anyone else to face off against AJ Styles. And it's the fact that they don't build anyone else up. Great match, don't get me wrong, but you have Riddle lose clean, now he doesn't have a case. No one's going to believe that Matt Riddle, at least I'm not going to believe it because I have a fucking brain. How is anyone supposed to believe that Riddle has a case of why he should be challenging AJ Styles for the Intercontinental title after he lost clean? No matter if he beats Baron Corbin, now he has to rebuild himself. He already has a loss on his resume since he got up to the main roster. 3 matches and he already has a loss. Way to kill the specialness. And here's the thing. He wasn't even protected. He wasn't even protected. What they did with Brian Cage at Fight for the Fallen, they protected Brian Cage. Cage wasn't pinned and he didn't get submitted. Taz threw in the towel. Brian Cage never gave up. He's still unbeaten, regardless of whether he has a loss on his resume or not. Riddle got legitimately beaten by AJ Styles. The match itself was great. Styles with a wheelbarrow facebuster to Riddle. He took over control. Riddle caught Styles with a bro to sleep, powerbomb, and a final flash for a close 2 count going into the second commercial. Styles dodged the floating bro. Big brainbuster from the apron for a 2. Riddle with a Broton on Styles. Nice back and forth sequence that landed Styles locking in the calf crusher, but Riddle countered into the bro mission before Styles reversed it into a roll-up for the win. Styles shook Riddle's hand afterwards, but Corbin attacked Riddle from behind. End of days to Riddle, and Corbin walked off. Great match. Shitty ending. I do not want to talk about SmackDown anymore. We're going to talk about 205 Live for about 2 minutes, if you even care about 205 Live, before we get the hell out of here. Tahuti Miles versus Mansoor started out vicious, actually, as soon as the bell rang. Tahuti was on the offense. Big drop kick to Mansoor as he tried to springboard into the ring. Mansoor came back in with a slingshot neck breaker. Mansoor came back with a spinebuster and then the electric chair Death Valley driver for the win. Mansoor gets the win. Same shit that we seen last week between these two. But Mansoor has been doing some really good things, and I would not mind Mansoor being an interim opponent for Santos Escobar and Mansoor challenging for the Cruiserweight Championship. Would not mind that whatsoever. So we had Tony Nese versus Chase Parker. Nothing too crazier. Nese wins with a spin kick. Martel attacked Nese afterwards before Swerve came out to save Nese. So they're building up the tension and the partnership, a friendship, so to speak, between Swerve and Tony Nese. Not really sure how I feel about that. I would much rather see them as single stars challenging Santos Escobar, but that's just me. And that was pretty much your week in review for wrestling minus AEW Fight for the Fallen, which I did a separate rewind on. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this edition of the Lightning Flash Update. My throat hurts. My throat hurts from screaming, but it's all for you guys. It's all for you guys. Oh, man. I'm going to get some lunch. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go get some lunch. I'm going to go get my check at work. I'm going to go and relax. I'm going to go check my schedule as well. Modify my schedule for next week as well. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Check out all the links in the description. Watch all the videos if you haven't already done so. I will catch you guys tomorrow for the rundown. Not the rundown, for the horror show at Extreme Rules. I'll be live tweeting. I'll be taking my notes. Monday is the rewind for the horror show at Extreme Rules. I hope you guys have a great weekend. If you guys are watching Slammiversary tonight for Impact, you guys enjoy Slammiversary. You guys have an excellent weekend. I will catch you guys soon. Stay healthy, stay safe, behave yourselves, and remember who the fucking king is. That would be me. You guys have a good one.